Hey there. Ready for a deep dive into sentence structure?
I'm ready.
You've shared some sources on this with me.
Yes,
So we're going beyond just the basics today.
absolutely.
Think of this deep dive as unlocking the secrets to crafting sentences that pack a punch. Right.
That's a great way to put it.
So we're assuming you're already familiar with the fundamentals like what a noun or a verb is.
Right.
What I'm really curious about is how we can use these elements to write more persuasively or create a certain mood in our writing. Is that something we can delve into?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's take the idea of a verb as the engine of a sentence.
Okay.
Think about the difference between saying he walked into the room and he stormed into the room.
Oh, yeah.
Both are grammatically correct, but that verb choice completely shifts the energy and impact of the sentence.
You're right. Stormed paints such a vivid picture.
Right.
It's almost like you can feel the character's anger
Yeah.
or urgency
Yeah.
just from that one word.
Yeah.
So it's not just about knowing the parts of speech. It's about understanding how to wield them effectively.
Exactly. And this applies to every element of sentence structure.
I see.
For instance, we often think of subjects as simply who or what is doing the action.
Yeah.
But think about how you can use sentence structure to emphasize a particular subject.
Okay.
The company, despite its challenges, achieved record profits. See how that sets the company apart, highlighting its resilience.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's almost like a spotlight on the subject.
Yeah.
So by strategically placing our subjects and choosing powerful verbs, we can really control the reader's attention
Yeah.
and how they interpret the information.
Exactly. Now let's talk about those complements.
Okay.
They're often overlooked, but they can add so much depth to your sentences.
I admit, compliments always tripped me up a bit in school. I knew they were important, but I never quite grasped their full potential.
Well, think of compliments like the supporting actors in a play. They might not be the star, but they're crucial for moving the plot forward.
Okay.
They provide essential information about the verb, answering questions like what, who, or how.
Okay, that's a helpful way to think about it.
Right.
So in a sentence like, she gave a generous donation to the charity.
Right.
A generous donation.
Yeah.
And to the charity are the compliments, right?
Yes. A generous donation is the direct object,
Okay.
what was given. And to the charity is the indirect object, telling us who received the donation.
I see, yeah.
Notice how these complements add detail and clarity, painting a much fuller picture of the action.
It's like the difference between a rough sketch and a fully realized painting.
Yes.
The compliments add those extra layers of detail and nuance.
Uh-huh.
I'm starting to see how mastering compliments can really elevate your writing.
And speaking of adding layers, let's not forget about adjectives and adverbs.
Okay.
They might seem like simple descriptive words, but they can have a profound impact on the tone and imagery of your writing.
Right. It's like the difference between saying the car was red
Yes.
and the car was a vibrant, fiery red like a molten sunset.
Right.
That imagery just grabs you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And adverbs can do the same for verbs, adding subtle shades of meaning.
Okay.
Consider he walked quickly down the street versus he sauntered down the street. That one word change completely alters our perception of the character and the scene.
It's fascinating how even seemingly small word choices can make such a big difference. It's almost like choosing the right brushstrokes to create the desired effect in a painting.
Now, are you ready to take things up a notch and explore the world of complex sentences?
Absolutely. I'm eager to see how we can use these building blocks to create more sophisticated and nuanced structures.
Well, one of the key tools for crafting complex sentences is the conjunction.
Yeah.
Conjunctions are like the bridges that connect different ideas within a sentence.
I remember learning about coordinating conjunctions like and but,
Yeah.
and or. They connect independent clauses, complete thoughts that could stand alone as sentences.
Right. And then you have subordinating conjunctions like because, although, while, which create dependent clauses.
Yeah.
Clauses that can't stand alone and need to be attached to an independent clause to make sense.
It's interesting to think about how these conjunctions not only connect clauses, but also establish the relationship between them.
Right.
Cause and effect, contrast, time, and so on.
And that's where the real power of complex sentences lies.
Yeah.
They allow you to express more nuanced ideas
Oh, yeah.
and create a more sophisticated flow to your writing.
So it's not just about making longer sentences,
Right.
but about using those different clauses strategically to build arguments, show relationships, and create a rhythm that engages the reader.
That's exactly it. And we haven't even touched on relative clauses yet.
Oh, yes, relative clauses.
Yeah.
They always seemed a bit mysterious to me.
Okay.
Can you shed some light on how they work and how we can use them effectively?
Of course. Think of relative clauses as a way of embedding extra information about a noun right into the sentence.
Okay.
They use words like who, which, or that to create these little pockets of description.
Can you give me an example?
Sure, let's say you have the sentence, the book was fascinating.
Okay.
A bit plain, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
But with a relative clause, you can add depth. The book, which I found tucked away in a dusty corner of the bookstore, was fascinating.
Wow, that relative clause adds so much intrigue.
Right.
Like you're giving the reader a little backstory about the book,
Yeah.
making it even more enticing. And notice how smoothly the relative clause fits into the sentence.
Right.
It's not an interruption,
It's just like this little, yeah.
but rather an elegant way to layer in more detail without disrupting the flow.
Exactly.
That's what I love about relative clauses.
Yeah.
They feel so natural and seamless, like a whispered aside that adds depth and texture to the writing.
They're a powerful tool for creating concise and stylish sentences. But just like any tool, it takes practice to wield them effectively.
I'm excited to delve further into the nuances of relative clauses and see how we can use them to craft sentences that are both informative and captivating.
Great. It's like we're uncovering the secret code of language, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
These seemingly simple elements, when combined with intention, have the power to shape thoughts and emotions.
That's such a great way to put it. And it makes me wonder about the rhythm of a sentence.
Okay.
We've talked about the impact of word choice, but does the structure itself, the way the clauses are arranged, also affect how a sentence feels?
Absolutely, yeah. Think about it, like music.
Okay.
A series of short staccato sentences creates a very different feeling than a long flowing sentence with multiple clauses.
So a writer could use short sentences to build tension or create a sense of urgency.
Exactly, like he ran, he tripped, he fell, it was over. See how that creates a sense of breathlessness?
Wow, yes. It's almost like you're experiencing the fall right alongside the character. And then a long, complex sentence might be used to convey a more thoughtful or reflective mood.
Precisely. You could have something like, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the valley, she sat on the porch swing, lost in contemplation of the day's events. That one sentence unfolds slowly, mirroring the gradual descent of the sun and the character's contemplative state.
Yeah, it's a beautiful example. It's almost poetic how the sentence structure mirrors the scene it's describing. I'm realizing now that sentence structure isn't just about grammar.
Right.
It's about creating an experience for the reader.
It's about making conscious choices as a writer to evoke specific emotions and guide the reader's journey through your words.
Now, I want to go back to compliments for a moment.
Sure.
You mentioned earlier that they can be nouns, verbs, adjectives, or even adverbs. But how do you know which type of compliment to use?
Okay.
Is there a trick to figuring that out?
The key is to really pay attention to the verb. The verb is the boss, so to speak. It dictates what kind of compliment it needs to complete its meaning.
So a verb like feel might take an adjective compliment like happy or sad because it's describing a state of being.
Precisely. But a verb like throw needs a noun complement, like ball or stone, because it's an action verb that requires an object to act upon.
Okay, that makes sense. The verb sets the stage and the complement fills in the missing pieces of the action or description.
And sometimes a verb might need multiple complements to fully express its meaning.
Like we talked about earlier with she gave a generous donation to the charity.
Right.
That verb gave
Yeah,
requires both a direct and indirect object to complete the thought.
exactly. And those multiple complements add depth and nuance to the sentence, creating a more complete picture of the action.
Speaking of complete pictures, let's dive back into those complex sentences.
Okay.
We've explored conjunctions, but I'm still intrigued by relative clauses. Can you give me some more examples of how they work in different contexts?
Of course. Remember, relative clauses are those little nuggets of information that we embed within a sentence to modify a noun.
And they use relative pronouns like who, which, or that to connect the clause to the noun it's describing.
Right. Let's say we have the sentence, the scientist made a groundbreaking discovery. A bit bland, right?
It gets the point across, but it's lacking a certain pizzazz.
Now let's add a relative clause. The scientist, who had been working tirelessly for years, made a groundbreaking discovery.
Ah, now it's singing. That relative clause gives us a glimpse into the scientist's dedication and the long journey that led to this breakthrough.
And it does so in a way that feels organic and engaging.
Yeah.
Instead of listing facts separately, we're weaving them together into a more compelling narrative.
It's like creating a tapestry of information where each thread, each clause, contributes to the overall richness and complexity of the design.
And that's the beauty of mastering sentence structure. It's not just about following rules.
Right.
It's about wielding those rules as tools to create something truly beautiful and impactful.
Speaking of impactful, we often hear about the power of active voice versus passive voice. Does that tie into sentence structure as well?
It absolutely does. Active voice is generally more direct and engaging. It puts the focus on the actor, the one performing the action.
Okay.
The dog chased the ball. It's clear and concise.
Whereas passive voice often feels a bit more distant or indirect.
Exactly. The ball was chased by the dog.
Yeah.
And while passive voice has its uses in most cases, active voice will create a stronger, more dynamic sentence.
So when you're aiming for clear, impactful writing, active voice is usually the way to go.
It's about making conscious choices about how you structure your sentences to achieve the desired effect.
This conversation has been so eye-opening.
Good.
I'm starting to see sentence structure in a whole new light.
Yeah.
It's not just about grammar rules, it's about the art of crafting language to create a specific experience for the reader.
It's about understanding the tools at your disposal and using them with precision and creativity.
And that brings me to another question. We've talked about all these different elements of sentence structure.
Right.
But how do they all work together?
Yeah.
It's like having all these ingredients,
Uh-huh.
but I need a recipe.
Right.
What's the secret sauce that transforms these individual components into a delicious, satisfying sentence?
That's a great analogy. And you're right. It's not enough to simply know the definitions. The real magic happens when you start combining these elements
Okay.
in interesting and unexpected ways.
So it's about experimentation,
Yeah,
about playing with the different tools and seeing what works.
exactly. Think of yourself as a composer arranging notes into melodies.
Good.
You can have a simple melody with just a few notes.
Yeah.
Or you can create a symphony with multiple layers and intricate harmonies.
So a short declarative sentence like, "The cat sat on the mat," is like a simple melody, conveying a clear and direct message.
Precisely. But
Yeah.
then you can take that same basic idea and embellish it,
Okay.
adding layers of detail and complexity. The sleek black cat, with eyes like emerald embers, gracefully settled onto the plush velvet mat.
Well, that sentence just sings. It's like you transformed a simple snapshot into a work of art.
And that's the power of mastering sentence structure.
Yeah.
You can create sentences that are not only grammatically correct,
Mm-hmm.
but also stylistically captivating.
You know, thinking back to those sources you sent,
Yeah.
I'm struck by how much emphasis is placed on the importance of varying sentence structure.
Right.
Why is that so crucial?
Variety is the spice of life, as they say, and it's certainly true for writing.
Right.
Imagine reading a text where every sentence has the same structure, the same rhythm.
Oh, yeah.
It would quickly become monotonous and dull.
It would be like listening to a song with only one note.
Yeah.
You need those highs and lows, those shifts in tempo, to keep the listener engaged.
Exactly. Varying your sentence structure keeps the reader on their toes.
Yeah.
It creates a dynamic flow that pulls them along and makes the writing more enjoyable to read.
So how can we consciously incorporate variety into our writing? Do you have any practical tips?
One simple technique is to alternate between short and long sentences.
Okay.
A punchy short sentence can create emphasis or drama,
Yeah.
while a longer, more complex sentence can provide context or elaborate on an idea.
It's like using different brushstrokes to create texture and depth in a painting.
Yeah.
You wouldn't use only one type of brush for the entire canvas.
Another strategy is to play with the placement of your clauses.
Okay.
Instead of always starting with the subject,
Uh-huh.
try inviting the sentence structure.
Okay.
Down the winding road, she drove, her heart filled with anticipation.
Oh, I like that. It creates a sense of mystery and intrigue.
Right.
You're leading with the setting, drawing the reader into the scene before revealing the subject.
And don't be afraid to experiment with different types of sentences.
Okay.
Declarative, interrogative, imperative, exclamatory.
Yeah.
Each serves a different purpose and can add variety and impact to your writing.
So it's about being mindful of the tools at our disposal
Yay.
and using them intentionally to create the desired effect.
Exactly.
It's about crafting sentences that are not only grammatically sound, but also stylistically engaging and impactful.
It's about becoming a master of language.
Yes.
Wielding the power of words to inform, persuade, entertain, and inspire.
This deep dive has been incredible.
Oh, good.
I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for the art of sentence construction.
Good.
And I'm excited to put these insights into practice and see how they elevate my own writing.
Remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah,
Keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep playing with the possibilities of language.
yeah.
And most importantly, have fun with it.
You've given me so much to think about.
Great.
I have a feeling I'll never look at a sentence the same way again.
Well, I hope so.
Thank you for sharing your expertise and for reminding us that language is a powerful tool
You're welcome.
that we can all learn to use more effectively.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to you listening, I hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity
Yes.
and inspired you to explore the endless possibilities of sentence structure.
It's fascinating.
Now go out there and create some magic with your words.
Absolutely.